Glenn Greenwald went on Tucker Carlson's show to talk about the U.S. extradition of Julian Assange, or the attempted extradition of Julian Assange. Let's watch, and then I'll tell you why he did it.
So, Glenn, thanks for coming on. I think a lot of people have heard for years that Julian Assange is a bad guy who hurt the United States. Now the United States is going to bring justice in this case. What's your view of this? Tell us what we should know in 3 minutes about Julian Assange.
Let's remember, Tucker, that the criminal investigation into Julian Assange began by the Obama administration because in 2010, WikiLeaks published a slew of documents, none of which harmed anybody, not even the government claims that. That was very embarrassing to the Obama administration. It revealed all kinds of abuses and lies that they were telling about these endless wars that the Pentagon and the CIA are determined to fight. They were embarrassing to Hillary Clinton. And so they initiated a grand jury investigation to try and prosecute him for reporting to the public. He worked with the New York Times, The Guardian, to publish very embarrassing information about the endless war machine, about the neocons who were working in the Obama administration. To understand what's happening here, we can look at a very similar case, which is one that President Trump recently raised, which is the prosecution by the Obama administration as well of Edward Snowden for the same reason, that he exposed the lies that James Clapper told. He exposed how there's this massive spying system that the NSA and the CIA control that they can use against American citizens. And obviously, this isn't coming from President Trump. He praised WikiLeaks in 2016 for informing the public. He knows firsthand how these spying systems that Edward Snowden exposed can be abused and were abused in 2016. This is coming from people who work in the CIA, who work in the Pentagon, who insist on endless war, and who believe that they're a government unto themselves, more powerful than the president. I posted this weekend a speech from Dwight Eisenhower warning that this military-industrial complex, what we now call the deep state, is becoming more powerful than the president. Chuck Schumer warned right before President Trump took office that President Trump challenging the CIA was foolish because they have many ways to get back at anybody who impedes them. That's what these cases are about, Tucker. They're punishing Julian Assange and trying to punish Edward Snowden for informing the public about things they have the right to know about the Obama administration. They're basically saying to President Trump, you don't run the country even though you were elected, we do, and they're daring him to use his pardon power to put an end to these very abusive prosecutions, one which resulted in 8 years of punishment for Julian Assange for telling the truth, the other one which resulted in 7 years of exile for Edward Snowden of being in Russia simply for informing the public and embarrassing political officials who are very powerful.
So in 30 seconds, the president could pardon Julian Assange right now and end this. Is that correct?
He could pardon him and Edward Snowden, and there's widespread support across the political spectrum on both the right and the left for doing both. It would be politically advantageous for the president. The only people who would be angry would be Susan Rice, John Brennan, Jim Comey, and James Clapper, because they're the ones who both of them exposed.
Glenn gets a lot of crap every time he goes on Tucker's show. There's a lot of people on the left who basically say that, Tucker Carlson's show is, what did I see on Twitter? The white supremacist power hour or something like that. So he gets a lot of crap. People, despise when Glenn does this, and they're very vocal about it. And they almost view Glenn as like the enemy for doing such a thing. But here's what's fascinating about this segment. This was absolutely strategic, and it's obvious. Go back and watch it again. The way that Glenn is talking about this is to try to plant a seed in Donald Trump's mind, hoping Trump is watching it, trying to plant a seed to get Edward Snowden and Julian Assange pardoned. Because look at the way he framed all of it. Mr. President, the deep state definitely does not want you to do this. All those bad people who hate you are the people who are in favor of punishing Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. So if you want to, you could snub the deep state, snub all these people who hate you by pardoning Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. Notice, Snowden wasn't even part of the segment. But Glenn brought him up anyway. Why? Because he's trying to use this time slot effectively, knowing there's a decent chance the president is watching. And by the way, here's a little cherry on top. You know when this was? This was at the very end of Tucker's show. You know who comes on after Tucker? Sean Hannity. You know who watches Sean Hannity every night? Donald Trump. I think he watches Tucker. I don't think he watches every night like he does Sean Hannity. So they did this segment. They put it at the end, which was strategic, and Glenn crafted all of his arguments basically trying to get Donald Trump to watch this and go, you know what? I think I'm going to pardon Julian, and I think I'm going to pardon Edward Snowden. A lot of people are saying it's the right thing to do. A lot of people are saying it's a wonderful idea, so I'm all over it. I'm going to do that now. So listen, I give props to Glenn for doing this. And even though I despise Tucker as much as the next person, I give props to him for facilitating this and allowing this to happen where Glenn is basically trying to get Snowden and Assange pardoned by making a case directly to Trump. You can tell, if you watch it again, you could tell everything Glenn is saying there, he's saying with the thought in mind that Trump is watching this, how can I convince him to try to pardon these guys? And Glenn Greenwald is a very persuasive person when he puts his mind to something. And I hope Trump saw it, and I hope he actually does it. You know, the problem with Trump is he has no real convictions, and when you have no real convictions, it's very easy to be swayed by the last person that was in the room. You know, and I think this happens so many times in a variety of issues. Foreign policy is a great example, where he'll tweet like, we're getting out of Iraq and Afghanistan, and then the next day his generals will be like, ha, no, we're not. And Trump, you know what, you're right, I don't think we are, it's a good point. like he's a path of least resistance kind of guy. And so when he packed his administration full of Wall Street and neocons, he's going to listen to Wall Street, he's going to listen to the neocons, because they're the last person in the room talking to him. I think he trusts Pence. And Pence credits his freaking career to Rush Limbaugh. He's a hardcore right-winger in every sense. So if that's the last guy in the room when Trump's making a lot of these decisions, yeah, he's going to end up doing the wrong thing. You just have to hope that like something like this lands with him because Trump likes Tucker. Glenn is appealing to Trump in the personal way that he needs to be appealed to. Again, this is how you know it was strategic, because the way Glenn is making the arguments. Oh, sir, the deep state, who have been very, very unfair to you, they want to punish Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. You could do the opposite, though. It's all crafted for a petty, narcissistic man. So anyway, I hope it works. There's some people who are so partisan that they would like if Trump were to pardon Assange and Snowden, they would instantly flip on Assange and Snowden. But I'm not a partisan hack. I don't care. I've always had the position that Assange and Snowden didn't do anything wrong and are heroes and should be released and should be pardoned. I've always had that position, so it wouldn't matter if it's a Democrat or Republican or otherwise, somebody else that does something that helps them. I'm going to be in favor of that thing and give credit where credit is due. But he hasn't done anything yet, so I don't know. We'll see. Fingers crossed.